Man, here we go again. It's that time where the UFC tries to sacrifice yet again another legend to build up the next rising contender. And this time it's Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He's getting booked against Gabriel Bonfim. And let me tell you something, man. I generally feel bad about this. I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't sit right on my stomach. Wonderboy is 42 years old. 42. And sure, he hasn't completely fallen off the cliff, but come on, man. The guy has been fighting killers nonstop, and now they're lining him up against another young, hungry fighter looking to make a name off of him. And look, man, when you look at Wonderboy's last 5 fights, Buckley TKO'd him, and by the way, Wonderboy actually looked pretty good in that fight until the finish. He was looking good, moving well, doing classic Wonderboy things, the angles and the kicks, and just got clipped. Same thing with the Shafkat fight. Wonderboy was piecing him up on the feet. He was giving Shafkat a real problem in the striking until Shafkat was able to take him to the ground and lock in a submission. It wasn't like Wonderboy was getting dominated. He was hanging in there, arguably winning some exchanges, and then it all slipped away once it hit the mat. And before that, he fought Kevin Holland. And let's not forget that he was completely schooling Kevin Holland. That was a vintage Wonderboy, clean technique, fast kicks, great movement. He looked sharp in there, and it was that kind of performance that made you think, okay, maybe he still got something left. But even before that, he had already lost to Belal Muhammad, and it made more sense since Belal, who, let's be honest, is probably the most decision-heavy fighter in the UFC, outworked him for over 3 rounds. Nothing crazy, nothing brutal, just a solid, methodical win for Belal. Then before that, he lost to Gilbert Burns, another decision loss. Again, not a complete blowout, but still a clear loss. So yeah, Wonderboy is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. That's rough, and even though the record looks bad, you really gotta look at how these fights played out. Because truth be told, he was competitive, but the margins are thin at this level, especially when you're at the age of 42 and fighting dudes in their athletic prime. Now here comes Gabriel Bonfim, and let's be honest, this kid is the real deal, man. Young, dangerous, and built like a finisher. He's not just another random prospect getting a push. Bonfim is slick on the feet, explosive in transitions. You even give him an inch and he'll turn it into a submission before you even know what happened. 17 wins, 16 finishes. That's not hype, that's a problem. The UFC isn't just handing him a golden opportunity here. They're putting him in a position to make a serious statement. And if he finishes a guy like Wonderboy, that instantly legitimizes him. That's the kind of win that moves you from prospect to problem, okay? And that's what this fight really is, a test. Can Bonfim handle the spotlight? Can he walk through a seasoned vet with elite striking like Wonderboy and prove that he's not just another submission artist? The potential is there, no doubt about it. But for Wonderboy, man, this just feels like one of those matchups where you can already see the writing on the wall. It's clear what they're trying to do, use a respected name, a former title challenger, to launch the next wave. It's the same cycle every time. New blood in, old blood out. And yeah, I get it, that's how the sport works, but it still sucks when it's someone like Wonderboy, a guy who's never ducked a fight, always brings class, always brings something different to the cage. Now he's been lined up again, and at this point, you can just hope that he has something left in the tank. Maybe he shocks us all. Maybe he turns back the clock one more time. But man, it gets harder and harder to watch the UFC keep lining him up for the slaughter like this. But here's the thing, as much as it feels like another setup, I actually think Wonderboy has a real shot to make this interesting. Because stylistically, this isn't some horrible mismatch. In fact, if you actually go back and watch Gabriel Bonfim, his only loss in his career was to Nicolas Dalby. And that fight said a lot. Dalby's not exactly a world beater, but what's interesting is the style he used. Long range striking, lots of movement, consistently disturbing Bonfim's rhythm, and it worked. Bonfim had trouble closing the distance, couldn't get his grappling going, and once the momentum started to shift, you can literally see him fade. He got tired, he started eating shots, and eventually he got finished in the second round. That wasn't just a loss, it was a collapse. He folded under sustained pressure and volume. And Dalby didn't even do anything too fancy in my opinion. He just stayed composed and didn't give Bonfim the openings that he's used to. That's what makes it so interesting because Wonderboy is way better at that style than Dalby. He's cleaner, faster, more creative, and has years of experience fighting at range against elite competition. Now, if Bonfim couldn't deal with the Dalby movement and shot selection, what happens when it's Wonderboy prepping him from the outside, switching stances, mixing kicks, and giving him zero predictable looks? And what really stood out beyond the fading cardio was how hittable Bonfim became when the fight didn't go his way. Like, he can't dictate the pace or find those clean grappling entries. His striking defense starts to crack. He doesn't move his head much, he stands tall in the pocket, and he throws big shots that leave him open for counters. It's not that he's a bad striker, he's actually pretty slick when he's leading it, but when he's the one that has to chase, or when the target consistently moving, that's when the holes start showing. You saw flashes of this even in some of his wins. Against Trey Waters, Bonfim was eating jabs and straight shots before he was able to lock up the guillotine. Against Lazez, he was getting clipped until the opening presented itself. The dude's got great instincts, but he doesn't like clean point strikers, especially the ones who don't stand still. And that's why Wonderboy is such a dangerous matchup stylistically, because he's built to expose that. He's gonna touch you, move, switch stances, kick from range, and never let you set. He's not gonna engage in a sloppy brawl or give Bonfim the kind of chaos he thrives in. Now, if Wonderboy's timing is still sharp and he's not slowing down too much by age, he can keep Bonfim frustrated all night, just picking him apart at range, forcing rushed entries, and maybe even drawing out desperation mistakes. That's the side of this fight that people aren't talking about enough. Yeah, Bonfim's a monster when he's flowing, but if he can't dictate where the fight's going, he's hittable, he's predictable. And against someone like Wonderboy, who made a career out of punishing guys for those exact flaws, that's where things can flip. It's a big if, but it's not impossible. Now, don't get me wrong, Bonfim is still a serious threat. He's young, he's hungry, and if he gets anywhere near your neck, it might be a wrap. His guillotine is nasty, and he's not afraid to pull it standing right out of the clinch. That's probably his best path here. But if we're just talking about the stand-up, I honestly think Wonderboy can give him a lot of problems. Bonfim has holes like I mentioned earlier. We've seen him get hit clean in his previous fights. He's been cracked before, and Wonderboy still has the tools to exploit that if he keeps the fight upright. People look at Wonderboy's record and think he's washed, but that doesn't tell the whole story. He was kind of outclassing Buckley before he got clipped. He was tagging Shavkat before it hit the ground. He completely styled on Kevin Holland. Even in the losses, he was in the fight. He's just been fighting top tier guys nonstop. And what makes him dangerous is that he's not going to panic. He's seen every type of fighter there is. If Bonfim can come out reckless or start slowing down like he did against Dalby, then that's where Wonderboy can turn this tide and flip the whole narrative. But as much as there are things about Bonfim that give me a pause, I've got to be real. There's a lot that worries me about Wonderboy too. Like, yeah, I've been giving him his flowers, saying he's still got the tools, still got the fight IQ, still has that slick karate style that gives a lot of dude problems, and all of that is true, but man, we can't pretend like he's the same guy that he was 5 or 6 years ago. He's just not. Time is undefeated, and in MMA, it shows fast. Let's start with the obvious. He's 42 years old. 42 years old. That's ancient in fight years, especially at welterweight where everything is built around explosive, speed, reaction time. You're not seeing a lot of 42-year-olds hang out with young, hungry 27-year-olds in the division. And to be fair, Wonderboy hasn't looked completely washed. He's not out there completely blown out or finished brutally every time. But what you do see is a little dip in timing, the half-step slower movement. The blitz that used to land clean are now getting red. His style is still sharp on paper, but it's not landing with the same snap that it used to. That's what makes him vulnerable now. He's still fighting the same way, but opponents are starting to catch up. He's just a little easier to find, a little slower to pull the trigger. And the biggest concern for me, it's the grappling. It's always been the hole in his game. We've known that for years. And it's not like he hasn't tried to improve it, but he's never been able to close the gap against elite level grapplers. Gilbert Burns exploited, Bilal Muhammad laid on him for 3 rounds, Shavkat Rakhmonov took him down, stayed composed, and submitted him. And what's crazy is Wonderboy was doing well in some of those fights. He was outstriking Shavkat early, but the second it hit the map, it was a wrap. He's not dangerous off his back, he's not throwing up submissions, he's not scrambling, he's not creating chaos, he just shells up and tries to survive. And survival isn't good enough against someone like Bonfim, who will find your neck if you give him that window. And I mean, let's talk about that too. Bonfim's not some sloppy brawler. The guy's legit boxing chops too, especially in close quarter exchanges. He hits fast and clean in the clinch, excellent jab, fast hands, good right hand. Even training partners said he's got real boxing base under that finished game. What that means is once he gets inside, forget wild takedown flurries. He can hit you with compact punches, double under uppercuts, tight shots from the clinch that mess with your rhythm and your balance. It's not just about wrestling you down, it's about making you feel it before you hit the ground. That's how he baited Chaos Williams into the clinch range, jabs and calf kicks to disguise his level change, then bang, hits you, drag you, locks you in the darts. And for Wonderboy, that's a real issue because he's always been the master of distance, keeping guys at bay, countering off the jab, but up close in tight spaces, that's one area where he hasn't looked dominant. He drops off in scrambles, he hasn't shown the power to turn the table in a grind, and let's not forget, when guys like Gilbert Burns or Bilal Muhammad got their hands on him in the clinch or on the mat, Wonderboy didn't look great. He struggled, he absorbed, he waited to get out. So this is what's keeping me up. Bonfim's gonna crash forward, he'll jab and pop you, make it ugly, cut off your ankles. When you start backing away, he'll press the position, trap you against the fence, and start mixing in tight boxing. It's not always a knockout, but it's disoriented. Then he lowers levels, that's textbook. And Wonderboy, he's got to dodge that entire sequence. Even a second long exchange can cost him energy, space, mental, rhythm, all things he relies on. That's why even respecting everything Wonderboy brings, I just don't have the full confidence on him anymore. If I'm gonna be real, I think Bonfim probably is gonna win. He's younger, more physical, wrestler grinder with slick submission setups. And if Wonderboy can't finish him early or keep the rhythm off of him, this fight could start slipping away fast. But here's the thing, even knowing all that, I still find myself hoping. Like a captain who refuses to leave the ship. I'm still riding with Wonderboy. Maybe it's blind faith, maybe it's nostalgia, maybe it's just me not ready to watch another OG go out like that. I know the odds are stacked against him. I know the grappling could be a huge problem, but man, a part of me believes he's still got one last trick left. I doubt it, but I'm still holding on, so yeah, screw it. I'm picking Wonderboy this Saturday to win. Not because I think it's the smart pick, but because I want to see it happen.